I'd like an answer, please,
sure.
ma'am.
Yeah, we don't have to raise our
You
voice.
did it. Don't you fox on me, ever.
Had you ever kissed a woman before?
No, I've never kissed a woman before.
Would you again?
Would I again?
We expect every American to support our military, and if they can't do that, to shut up. So you keep your mouth
Take a good look at it, because it won't be there for long.
We cannot wait for the final proof, the smoking gun, that could come in the form of a mushroom cloud.
Welcome to Your Truth. You probably already know that U.S. forces have been occupying Iraq for the past 6 years. But did you know that your tax dollars recently financed a $700 million embassy the size of 80 football fields and bigger than the Vatican? It has its own shopping mall, a cinema, restaurants, schools, and a water treatment facility. And it'll cost U.S. taxpayers, that's you and I, $1 billion a year to operate. How can we afford to fund this embassy along with our 75 other military bases in Iraq? And what are the other costs to war? Well, war isn't cheap. Wars require transport, weapons, gas, oil, water, food, and the list goes on and on. Let's not forget that ultimately, taxpayers are the primary financiers of this war. So do we really want our tax dollars going to war, or could this money be better used elsewhere? As we face the greatest economic downturn since the Great Depression, with state and local budgets strapped for cash and thousands of people losing their jobs and homes, shouldn't we be using this money to help American citizens? So how much are we spending on the war on terror? Thus far, Congress has allocated more than $871 billion for the wars in the Middle East, according to the National Priorities Project. We are now spending over $12 billion a month in this region for combat operations. According to the Center for Defense Information, 51% of your federal income taxes go specifically to military spending, not healthcare or education, but war. Another shocking fact is that 15% of your federal income taxes funds the interest on the national debt created by military spending, according to warresisters.org. One of the reasons we need to be concerned about war spending is that our country is already racked with debt. Since 2001, our national debt has doubled from $5 trillion to $11 trillion. Did you know that every American alive owns a $33,000 portion of the national debt? That's enough money to buy a 1 Series BMW. And get this, 9,000 of the 33,000 are owed to different countries like China and Japan. Can we count on a prosperous future with this much debt hanging over our head, especially when we owe so much to other countries? Well, our politicians continue to tell us that we need to spend this money on war in order to keep our country safe. And it's true. We haven't been attacked since 9/11. However, spending enormous amounts of money in the Middle East while doing little to enhance America's image abroad could make protecting our country costlier and more difficult in the long run. Does the threat of terrorism warrant this kind of runaway spending, and how grave is the threat?
You're probably thinking, I don't care how much money we have to spend, as long as our country's safe. And we haven't been attacked since 9/11, right? Well, did you know that you're 12 times more likely to die from accidental suffocation in bed than you are from a terrorist attack? More significantly, you're 17,000 times more likely to die from heart disease than terrorism. Heart disease is the leading killer in America, responsible for the deaths of about 900,000 people a year, according to the American Heart Association. This annual death toll is the equivalent of 300 9/11 attacks. So you think that we're spending countless trillions for a war on heart disease, but that's not the case. The base budget for the Department of Health and Human Services has never exceeded $80 billion. Compare this with the 2010 fiscal year budget for the Department of Defense of $533 billion. So why the enormous disparity in spending if heart disease is so much deadlier? We all know that the financial costs of these wars have been astronomical, but what about the human costs? The British polling group Opinion Research Business has found that more than 35,000 Afghanis have died and almost 2 million refugees have fled the country. 5,000 American soldiers have died and more than 31,000 have been wounded. 1 million plus Iraqi citizens have died as a result of our occupation, and over 4 million have been displaced. According to an Oxfam study, Iraqi citizens face an enormous humanitarian crisis. 43% live on less than $1 a day. The UN also reports that 1 out of 3 Iraqis don't have access to clean drinking water, and Baghdad residents have only 1 to 2 hours of electricity per day. Though they have been freed from Saddam's rule, Iraqi citizens endure a substandard quality of life, and many live in squalor. In light of these facts, the official argument that we're saving and building a better future for the Iraqi and Afghani people falls apart. Americans worried about the economic viability of these wars must lobby this administration to change course. So far, President Obama is continuing Bush's trend of annually increasing defense spending. The 2010 base budgets for the Department of Defense, the FBI, and the Department of Homeland Security will all be the highest in history, a combined $596 billion. Now it's time to evaluate the consequences of our decisions. Every choice we make today impacts this generation and every future generation of people at home and abroad. Do we want crippling debt and endless wars to be the norm for America? Or can we do better? It's up to people like you and me to tell our politicians to stop funding the war and to use our money to help our country. Thanks for watching the network. Don't forget to tune in next week to find out who really shapes our foreign policy. You may be surprised to find out that it's not just the president and Congress.